everybody, what's going on? And welcome to Brain Balance Live. We are here with Heather from the Hidden Churn. As always, Heather is a National Autism Summit speaker, a licensed therapist, and also just one of the best people that I know on the planet Earth. Welcome to the show, Heather. We're so glad to have you.
I'm so glad to see you.
Heck yeah. Hey, we traded out here. I know you get Jessica, the teacher, the best of the best. I know you've had Jen, my wife, on, and we're both brain balance parents, so we love being here. And today it's me. I'm excited to be here to talk about some gratitude with you. So I'm thankful to be here.
I am grateful to have you here. And it's nice to have a dad perspective too. You know, I mean, we talk to a lot of moms. It's good to have both. So I love it.
Yep. You know, it's an interesting time right now. I have to just mention our hearts go out to everybody in the state of Florida that is dealing with the hurricane repercussions. It was just a horrific scene in South Florida. Even some of my direct family members just losing their entire homes, 3 feet of water just washed away. And, you know, I know as they rebuild that there's probably a lot going on, but I think, you know, I always, we lost a room in our house. Actually, we're in Central Florida, and the hurricane passed right over us. And so we lost my office. It's funny. I'm in an upstairs room here in my house. And I'm sitting here on a show about gratitude, being so thankful that all I had to do was move my office stuff up a set of stairs while the other room is completely gutted. Like, I mean, it's just gone. So insurance claims, blah, blah. If we get it covered, great. But I'm sitting here in gratitude of like, holy cow, thank goodness that I'm able to do something like that. And I'm able to have an office where I can continue, you know, helping parents, talking to parents just like you. And I think that's a little bit more perspective than it is gratitude, but I guess they're kind of like blended together, right?
They are very much blended together. Actually, we're going to talk a lot about that today and some neurodevelopmental struggles that can interfere with gratitude. And also, to your point, with what's happened in Florida, this may sound counterintuitive. We can overdo gratitude. There's this toxic positivity, like everything's great. I am 100% fine with the totality of the situation. It is okay. And this is something we'll get into, but there's so much nuance, abstract thinking, perspective, flexibility to understand. I am grateful that all that happened was this. It doesn't mean I wish it hadn't. That is not ingratitude. Right. And so we're going to talk a lot about that. But yeah, gratitude is really a unique emotion. And we talk about the body-brain connection a lot. And so when we kind of go into the first slide, like the benefits of gratitude are incredible. When we receive or do something kind for someone else, and that's really what gratitude is recognizing the good in the world and where did it come from. It lights up the brain's reward pathway. Guess what? That means dopamine is released. That is a large part, and sometimes entirely, what ADHD medication does is it increases dopamine, which is that motivating, rewarding, feel-good chemical. It is a pleasure center in our brain. And so with that, it impacts our neurochemicals, all of our little happy faces or frowny faces in our brain that connect all of the communication in the brain. And so it has impacts on sleep, how long it takes to fall asleep, how sound is the sleep, you know, every layer of sleep, your level of energy, your metabolism, mood regulation, because of all of those chemicals that it impacts. It impacts all kinds of things related to your heart health. I won't go into that. Yeah. Blood pressure, immunity is stronger. You can tolerate pain higher. Social connections and relationships, the depth, the meaningfulness of your relationships, finances. Gratitude is widely studied. And when you have perspective and you have your priorities and you know what matters most, you end up spending less. A lot of times we are seeking some sort of feel good by escaping into overspending. You know, so even financial decisions are better. There's better productivity at work. It impacts academic outcomes, one's outlook on school, and this is for teachers and students, as well as the cognitive functions, the learning abilities that help you be successful there. Resilience of midlife stresses directly impacts how we respond to stress. focus, memory, the symptoms of depression and anxiety decrease, illness. This is not to say that if you have a bad case of COVID, that means you're ungrateful, but it can decrease the symptoms of illness. Yeah. Empathy, kindness, charitable acts. I start recognizing what I have to be grateful for, and then it makes me want to do good for others who aren't as fortunate as I am. And we're going to talk about all the links between empathy, a lot of these cognitive functions, contentment, happiness. Grateful people are happier.
Nice.
Confidence. This isn't even an all-inclusive list, but body-brain connection. Your brain tells your body what to do. Your body sends messages to your brain. And so when you work on the health of one, you're working on the health and function of the other. So let's move on and look at gratitude development. So when our little ones, I think most of us, somebody says something nice to your child or gives them a gift or any kind of act, what do you say? Thank you.
Yeah, yeah.
And that's a nicety in pre-K. And that's, we want to teach our kids social norms and manners, social skills. Right. But that teaching kids to say thank you, that is a rule. When somebody does something nice, you say thank you. It does not mean I have the emotional experience of gratitude. Even without developmental struggles, it's not time for that yet.
Right.
Okay. So, connective gratitude, the type of gratitude that makes me feel closer to you and realize what you mean to me, and we have a deeper relationship, that starts really blooming around roughly developmental ages of 6 to 7. Keep in mind that if you have a 7-year-old child who has neurodevelopmental struggles, with or without a label, okay, we're talking about developmental age. That part of their brain could be 2, even if they are 7 years old. Between the ages of 10 to 19, it's understanding and experiencing gratitude causes one to be more connected to their community. In Florida, maybe that those kids are going to be more inclined to, I want to go help with cleanup. I want to go support this family who lost everything. But even generosity starts growing at ages 6 to 7. Connectedness, really next level, 10 to 19, and being able to take on a broader view, in that. But in the teen years, if you keep telling me, we do so much for you and you're so ungrateful, you need to be more grateful. Number one, we don't want to label kids as ungrateful because separate what they do from who they are. We got to instill a growth mindset. All of these things can improve. And we don't want them thinking, I am an ungrateful person. But also, you are trying to force me to feel grateful. And I am in a stage of life where one of my strongest developmental tasks is to really form my own identity, to grow autonomy and independence. And those things feel in conflict. I don't know how to make both of those work. And we're going to talk about other things in the teen years. But neurodevelopment can change the timing of all of this. But just so you know what to look for. And I have this little guy standing on his head to represent point of view. Do your kids think I'm right, you're wrong? Do they have difficulty seeing something from someone else's perspective? Do you have kids who can't see the forest for the trees? Okay, sportsmanship is important in the way you talked to Tommy when you lost the game. How do you think that made him feel? You said something rude about his yellow shirt. His shirt wasn't yellow, it was orange. Forest trees. Wow. If I hone in and I can't see the whole big picture, I can hone in on the one thing that didn't go to my liking and miss all the things I do have to be grateful for. Yep. Do I have impulse control where I can pause and think about it so I have time to get there? What about critical thinking? There's a lot of cause and effect where I can understand this person did this for me because they knew I was feeling kind of down in the dumps. And I understand their intent, the cost of them. They took time to do this, even though they have so much on their plate. I realize how it benefited me. Those types of skills involved in gratitude are the same skills I need to look at all the pros and cons of a situation and make the right choice. So right. These are just some examples. Flexible thinking. There's so much nuance and abstraction to this too. Okay, let's move on. This has been widely studied, and what are the habits of extremely highly grateful people? They view the good as a gift, not an entitlement. Now, in the teen years, there is a certain level of entitlement that is developmentally to be expected. I know that makes everyone so happy. On a certain,
or I have a 14-year-old. Yep, you're speaking her language. That's right.
They savor positive experiences. It is not just about tangible. Do you have kids who are very literal? You said 4:00 and it's 4:07, so you lied to me. Positive experiences are more abstract. It's not that I have something to hold that you gave me. It's, wow, I'm on a nature walk and look at that gorgeous lake. Feel that breeze is so refreshing. I love the smell of that honeysuckle. If you have kids with sensory processing struggles, they are not having the same experience. It may be overwhelming, or they may be understimulated by it and it just sort of goes over their head. Right. They prioritize people, and it's not just, we need to know the 5 love languages and what speaks your child's love language. One of them is gifts. But I appreciate the hard work that teachers do. I appreciate that farmers are out laboring in the, hi, Mandy. Yay. I'm so glad to hear that. Look at her Vogue picture. Thank you for saying hi. Beautiful. I love getting those reports. That's one of our brain balance mamas. But I understand that someone toiled in the sun all summer to produce food that is now in the grocery store that we're eating. I prioritize relationships. I don't let my to-do list get in the way. One of the love languages is quality time. Am I so busy? Even if it's sometimes we're not choosing between good and bad. We're choosing between good, better, best, Right. When a grateful person delivers gratitude, it doesn't mean every single time they do that all the elements will be here. But instead of just saying thank you, specific, and you consider the intention of the person. You showed me how much you cared about me. You knew that I lost a dear friend and was down, and you took the time, despite the fact that you're not feeling that great, your kids are behind in school, you're stressed out about that school project, to make sure I was okay, to bring me a casserole, whatever it is. Right. And that gave you even less time to take care of your stuff. That helped me so much. I can't tell you how many times I've thought back to that conversation I had with you, and it's helped get me through a rough time, a rough moment. Yeah. So it's very specific. Think outside of the box. Think that can be more than just saying thank you. It can be looking for how you can help someone else. I mean, it can be the little kindnesses throughout a day, Yeah. Holding the door open for someone who has their hands full, not just saying thank you, writing letters to people who have been instrumental in helping shape your life. But also there is more to be thankful for than what we sometimes think about on the surface. The difference between, my parents are helping me on my science project. That is so annoying. And then that interaction doesn't go well. Parents want to help less next time because who wants to be the punching bag? Somebody else asks me for help. I say no because I have my connotation of it's messed up. Now I can't sleep at night because I'm just in turmoil. Or, wow, my parents got home late from work. They still have to cook dinner. They still took the time to see how they could help me. And then somebody asked them to help, and they do. There's just such a ripple effect of this. Gratitude for the opportunity to serve others. I mean, this is going to be unique to each person. And people who are very grateful contemplate loss. This job is so stressful. And man, so-and-so is annoying. And it's always, they're bossy or they're condescending. Grateful people would say, what would life look like if I hadn't gotten that job?
Right.
It doesn't mean that you devalue and dishonor that part of your feelings. But by looking at the good in the job, also, it levels things out. And we need to teach kids that it is very expected to experience two what could seem like conflicting emotions at the same time, or more than two. We can be frustrated and grateful at the same time. So that is getting us out of the toxic positivity. It's growing cognitive flexibility, perspective, nuanced thinking. In a relationship, this person said, what if you didn't have them? Yeah. And so And by the way, understanding this helps kids make better choices in friends without you telling them you cannot see this person, because that will make them want to see them more. They'll seem even cooler all of a sudden. They need to understand that. Let's say that you've noticed that they have a particular friend that after they spend time with them, 70% of the time they seem to feel worse about themselves, or you have witnessed them not treating your child or teen very well. Instead of telling them what to think or who they can be friends with, saying, you're going to have probably a lot of friends in your life where there's some things you like about being around them and some things you don't. Can you think of anybody you feel that way about? And say, yeah, I can understand why you like hanging out with Sarah. You both like playing tennis. You have this hobby the same. We're in the same neighborhood. How do you feel sometimes when you're, well, she talks bad about me. She even talks bad about me to other people, and she's really bossy. And so they don't think something's wrong with them for having conflicting emotions when they know that you understand why they enjoy being around this person. And yet it's also okay that there are things that make you question if this is a friendship you're going to keep going forward. That is, man, what a load off. Kids don't automatically know these things. Okay. But look how many cognitive skills are needed to do this. What if they have issues with social skills, emotional intelligence? What if they have telescopic view and don't understand the good that came to them?
Right.
Okay, let's move on. All right, with teens, we talked about the entitlement. If there is a certain level of I'm getting to know myself through the teen years with or without neurodevelopmental struggles, those are usually heightened. If I don't have emotional intelligence, body awareness is foundational for growing a sense of self. A narrow world view. If you have kids, it's not fair. Everybody's out to get me. They hone in on the bad and they can't see the good at the same time. Not instead of the bad, but at the same time.
Right.
Attribution bias. How many of you have cut somebody off in traffic before because you were late to a meeting and it's a super crucial meeting and you're a great person? You weren't being rude. You're in a hurry. And this is very, very important. Somebody else cuts you off. What a jerk.
That's so true.
That's what attribution bias is. I do something nice for Corey. Man, you're so lucky to have me, Corey. I'm an awesome friend. You're welcome. You do something for me. That's no skin off of his back. Big deal. That can really get in the way. We have a tendency to give ourselves the benefit of the doubt and not others.
Right.
The just world hypothesis says that's just the way the world is. The people who deserve it get the good stuff, and the people who don't. And how much helplessness is in that? How much of a feeling of lack of control? How much would that make kids give up task avoidance instead of grit and perseverance? They need to know that bad things happen to good people. Corey and Jen were not being punished for being bad people because they lost the office of their home. Likewise, it's not just manna from heaven because that person deserved it. My parents didn't do this for me and I really wanted it. So what's wrong with me? Why didn't I deserve that? And then it can impact confidence. So we need to help kids become experts on themselves. I have to know myself before I can. That is sort of a precursor to me understanding other people. And that also helps me understand what Corey's intent was when he did that for me. He knows this about me. I know this about me. And now I get what his intent was. It also really leads into altruism. One of the best ways to cultivate gratitude without trying to impose it on kids, be more grateful, is to engage in altruism. Ask, what's a cause you really care about? Maybe they love animals, or they were adopted and they care about working with other kids who haven't found homes, or whatever it is. It could be the arts. What do they care about, and what is something they can do? But search together, brainstorm, get online. What is something you would like to do to serve others? If I don't know what I care about, how do I come up to that answer? Another thing is ask them to create a family gratitude practice that the whole family will follow. I thought of it, so it's a great idea. You automatically have more buy-in. They're sharing with the family what we're going to do instead of you telling them that we're going to have a gratitude jar and you are going to put something you're grateful for in every day.
Yeah.
If they come up with it all of a sudden. By the way, I love gratitude jars where anytime throughout the week people are writing down something they're grateful for about someone else in the family. That can be really great when siblings are having fights and we pull out and talk about the things that they're grateful for in their sibling that they might not be able to get to in the heat of the moment. Or coming up with a calendar and every day it's something different. We need to know that gratitude is not just during the month of November and December, it's year round. Allow humor and appropriate teasing. This goes back to making sure it's not toxic positivity. Let's say that they are having a spat with a friend. We're going to honor those feelings. What's something you're grateful for? I'm grateful we're out of school tomorrow, so I don't have to see them. And that's something they can say at home that's venting, but they're still getting perspective and letting them know where they should and should not say that. Yeah. Consider brain development. I have to put that repeatedly because that directly impacts gratitude. So many things that look like weaknesses of character, personality, or what other families might attribute to bad parenting. Y'all know this. It's not. They don't know the journey you're on. We don't always know the full journey our kids are on because they don't know how to articulate it. Brain development issues do not always look like bad grades or not having any friends, that kind of thing. Yeah. Okay.
One more. There we go.
And back to what we talked about at the beginning, it can backfire if we overdo it. Most things, right? Wouldn't you say most things in life, we can overdo them? This animal is in the middle of a fire. I'm totally fine with what's happening right now. And what are they doing? Nothing. They're sitting there having their drink. If we overdo gratitude, we might think what's going to happen is going to happen. I have no control over this. We must teach kids what they can and can't control. I can control my actions, my responses, attitudes, friends, attitudes, my effort. I cannot control what other people do, but sometimes I'm just supposed to be grateful. That just means wait for the good to happen, look for it, but ignore the other. What does that look like in a relationship? Well, sometimes my boyfriend is nice to me. He bought me a pretty necklace. Sometimes he says nice things to me. The next day he's hitting your daughter. We cannot ignore. It can really skew decisions. Yeah. Downplaying personal success, because gratitude is about recognizing the source of kindness and being grateful to others for how they've enriched our lives in some way. So if they do well on something that they've showed such great perseverance, they used better strategies, they set a SMART goal, you see their critical thinking growing. Yeah, I mean, my teacher, y'all helped me so much, my teacher did. They could start downplaying, and that can decrease their confidence and their feeling of agency. I can do this. Mistaking it for indebtedness. Relationships are not transactional, right? For connected relationships, if I think that the way I mentioned, Corey did something nice for me, so I have to do something for him, tit for tat, that actually hurts relationships. Whether it's conscious or subconscious, the other person can think, what? I can't do something nice for them without they have to pay me back. I thought we were closer than that. Yeah. It doesn't mean throughout a course of a friendship, you're going to do kind things for one another, but not just because the other person did it. It's because I care about you. I see that you're in need. I see a way I can support you. Avoidance of a serious issue. I mean, maybe don't go to the doctor and wish you had, once you finally do. And I've already talked about toxic positivity. Looking for the good does not mean beating ourselves up because at least XYZ didn't happen. Some people have it worse. That is actually we do that to try to gain perspective. But if we say that to our kids, they can misinterpret that. I don't have a right to feel this way because at least my dad didn't lose his job and only one room of the house was harmed, whereas somebody down the street. I'm grateful for that, but I also can be sad about a situation. It is shaming if kids think that they are not allowed, no matter what somebody else is going through. It does not change what I am going through. It gives us
Right.
perspective, but we still have the right to feel what we're feeling. Okay.
Right. Beautiful. This is our last slide, everybody. And I just, before we read Melody's, quote there, I just want to remind everybody that Heather's Brain Balance Centers, where her amazing team is housed, is over at the Woodlands, Mansfield, and the Katy location in Texas. So I know that's kind of spread out. I know that's a lot of miles in between a couple of those centers, but please know that if you are near those areas, we're here to serve you. You can also find Heather over at the Hidden Churn, of course, where we are broadcasting live now. And Heather, you want to take us out with this awesome quote from Melody?
This is one of my favorite gratitude quotes. I came across it right when my mom went on a hospice, and so it's just really stuck with me. Gratitude turns what we have into enough and more. It turns denial into acceptance, chaos into order, confusion into clarity. It makes sense of our past, brings peace for today, and creates a vision for tomorrow.
Beautiful. Nice. And I love the girl meditating. I really enjoy meditating. Do you meditate, Heather? Do you do that every now and then?
I do, but not sitting still like that. I feel it. And by the way, if you have kids with ADHD, what does meditation or being mindful look like for that? It doesn't. This is great, but you're like, yeah, right. My kid cannot sit still for 2 seconds. You can also have mindfulness practices. Mine is much more about getting out in nature. It's sort of like going into a meditative, mindful state. I don't do it sitting still. I probably should try it, but it's really has a lot of the same brain benefits.
The act, from what I've understood, there was a book by a newscaster that actually froze on the air. His name's Dan. I forget his last name, but he froze on the air, and he had like a brain issue, and he started meditating, and he said he's 10%. It's called 10% Happier, I believe, is the book. And he said that meditating makes him 10% happier. And it was interesting because he said the art of meditation is actually focusing on trying to be still and quiet. That is meditation in and of itself. And a lot of people say, I'm not good at meditating because I can just never quiet my brain. But they don't understand that's exactly what meditation is just trying. Right.
Right.
Even my kiddo yesterday, I took him, he was home because of the hurricane stuff. And I let him, play about, 30 minutes of video games because I had to do some stuff around the house. And I said, hey, man, we're going to go for a walk. And I had so many things to do and I was just so busy. But I was like, you know what? We went for the walk. And he's usually pretty reluctant to walk, but I explained to him why I want to give your eyes a break. I want to make sure that we get moving at the beginning of the morning, not just start playing games. You're going to have the rest of the day to play a little more games. And the coolest thing happened while we were walking. He just started blah, 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 just talking to me about life and stuff and what he was learning, and it connected to another thing and this and that. So he was actually connecting all these thoughts and questions, and we ended up having a conversation while we were walking in the neighborhood. And it was so epic. And I was like, man, I'm so happy that I did that. And it's funny because my wife came home and she was like, what have you been doing, buddy? What have you been doing all day? Have you been playing games or like, what's the deal? He's like, no, Dad made me go on a walk. And then he made me work out and, a couple other things. And I was like, yes, brownie points. Points because it's easy.
Yes.
It's easy to stick them in front of a TV sometimes.
I love that. So many times kids will open up more if their bodies are moving. It could be going out to the backyard and playing catch because it doesn't feel so intense and intimidating and threatening. What's going on? But by doing something fun and enjoyable and getting into this more mindful state, when we get out in nature, when we move our bodies, it impacts the chemical makeup of our brains. It gives us clarity so we know what to say. Driving in a car is another good time because my parents always have to stay on the road. I have something heavy to say. Because they're not looking at me, I have the courage to get the words out. Doesn't mean, yes, there's a time for eye contact. Sometimes they open up more when that's not the case, but especially when bodies are moving, and even more so outdoors.
Right.
You're just getting all the right ingredients there. You're such a great dad. I love hearing these stories.
Yeah, I try. I have my moments. I mean, sometimes something happened the other day where something was in danger and I raised my voice and I was mad at myself. And, it's never okay to yell. And I keep saying, like, we just do not communicate by yelling in this family. And it's really funny because I've been saying that. I don't know if it's a mantra or if it's just something I've been saying over and over to the kids. But it's funny because when I did raise my voice, Roger said, Dad, we don't yell in this house to communicate. I went, dang, he's right. I said, you're right, buddy. You're right. I'm sorry. And I apologized and we moved on. But, somebody was in danger. And it's so hard when one of your kids is in danger from somebody's silly decision. You're like, all right, I got to stay in control. I got to model control, But.
Yeah. When that's the house rule says we don't, yell in the house. That gives parents a degree of separation. We're all following that rule, but we also are all human. Kids, yes, we don't want to yell at our kids, but we're human and we have our own feelings. And when we make a mistake and own up to it, we are modeling something. We have a different thing we owned it, and they can relate better to us in seeing how we deal with our mistakes and what we learn and how we grow than if they think we're perfect or they think we only have positive emotions all the time.
Yeah, so true.
Yeah.
All right, everybody. Well, thanks for tuning in. Hopefully you learned a lot about gratitude on this episode. We are here every Tuesday at noon Eastern. So if you have any questions, just let us know. We do respond to every comment. So if you have any comments, questions, just let us know. And until next time, we will see you soon. Thanks for being here, Heather.
Have a great week. Thank you, Corey.